Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Magentleman podcast. If you're here for the nth time, if you were here from day one and you are watching this episode, even though we had a long hiatus, we love and appreciate you. So thank you for tuning in. Yeah.
Yes. Welcome back.
Yeah. So since we've been gone, I thought I would spend a couple bucks on the setup. Got a new mic and some lighting, so hopefully you guys like it.
Dude, it's dope. You look like a professional podcaster now.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to step up, Steve, or I'm gonna go solo.
I'll step up. I'll step the game. Get the exercise bike out of here. And I'm gonna put like a rock salt lamp.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
I've been meaning to, I've been debating on whether or not I should get one of those bikes. Actually, I was between like a bike and a treadmill. But then I remember I ended up catching COVID and everything, and so now I'm like I can't really do exercise, so that's on hold.
So is it like hard to breathe still?
No. Now I'm fine, but doctor just told me to chill for the next. So now it's been 2.5, 3 months. So 3 more months. Just take it easy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because you had like really serious COVID.
Yeah. I ended up in the hospital for 4 days. Yeah. I'm not gonna the reason, I mean, I hope this isn't like depressing anybody. Should I go into this on this episode? Sure. Yeah. I mean, so I ended up, the reason I was in the hospital was because like I had like back pain. And then I went to the hospital, like to the first hospital. I went to 2 hospitals. The first hospital, they're like, oh, it looks like you drove because I drove from Florida to North Carolina, like during the drive to North Carolina, which was about like 13 hours. That's when my back started hurting. And, at first I thought it was just like gas because I didn't eat all day. And then it just got worse. Ended up going to the hospital and they said, hey, it sounds like you sprained, like you hurt a muscle from the drive. And then I got home and passed out at the house and ended up like in an ambulance, like that's how bad it was. Ended up in the hospital.
From the back pain?
Well, yeah, so the back pain, the first hospital misdiagnosed, right? They didn't even give me a bed. They were just like, look, man, you look fine. We don't see anything. Actually, they said, we think maybe there's something wrong with your gallbladder and we might have to do surgery. And I'm like, oh man, don't. I've never had surgery. So I'm like, man, I hope like you guys are right. So I ended up doing like staying there. I got there maybe like at like 12 o'clock. And then, I mean, ended up like being seen at like 3 a.m. and then got out like at 7. But then like the way I ended up in the hospital the second time, like as I was walking home, I'm walking into the house, like from the garage, I passed out before I got to my bed. And my girlfriend was like panicking and the neighbors came over and it was like super scary. I like woke up and I was on the floor. I was like, how did I
That's crazy.
Here?
So you weren't saying like I went home and passed out, like you went home for a sleep.
No.
You went
like
home and passed out.
Yeah, I got out of the car. I got out of the car and I was walking to go lay down because my back was still hurting. And then I just wake up and like the neighbors like talking to me, my girlfriend's like screaming, the dog's barking, and I'm just like sweaty and all of that. And they're like, they're calling they're calling the ambulance and, and I just, like at that point when I woke up on the floor. I'm just like, why am I on the floor? Who put me here? Right. But then I started to feel like I couldn't breathe, and like I started panicking because I was like on my back, and then I was like, can you guys, raise me up? And then I could breathe a little bit better, but I was like in a lot of pain. Anyway, the EMT showed up, and they apparently something was wrong with my heart, right? And anyway, I end up at the second hospital. Come to find out, like, my lungs were all messed up, kidney messed up, heart barely hanging on, and then like 4 days I'm in the hospital. Yeah, just like COVID complications.
So it's all COVID related.
So exactly, all like so. I get to the hospital and they're just like, I have no medical history because I've never been to the hospital, and they're
You're
just
from
like,
another planet.
no, I never had to go to the hospital except when I fell off my motorcycle. But that was like 4 hours and I just had like scrapes on my arm. Anyway, so they do a whole bunch of tests. Almost everything in me is just like dying. And they're like, it seems like you have COVID, messed you up really bad. What's ironic is I had COVID in Florida, quarantined, started feeling better, right? Didn't go and see anybody. I just stayed home until I started feeling better. And then once I felt better and like I felt like I had recovered with some like minor, like just like minor fatigue here and there, that's when all of this just hit me out of nowhere. So it was weird that like when I really felt bad because of COVID, nothing happened. But then when I felt like I was fine, all of a sudden, like I passed out and then ended up in the hospital twice. So
yeah, I've heard that's actually not too rare of like having that where you start feeling better from it, and then that's when the real trouble starts.
exactly. So that was, oh, the funny part was so January 9th was my birthday. But January 8th at 11 is when like I ended up going to the hospital the first time. So I was in the hospital on my birthday.
So even the back pain you think was related to COVID?
Yeah. So they said basically I had a blood clot in my lungs.
Oh my gosh.
And then that impacted my kidneys and my heart.
Dude.
So I'm laughing about it now, but I was like really bad.
That's freaky, man. Yeah. I mean, we got it too. My wife and my kids and me all had it. We got like thank God, like a less severe version than you.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're probably in much better shape than me. I mean, shit, like
I said, I've never been in the hospital for any reason. This like COVID did a number on me.
Yeah, man.
And like I said, the weird part was I was back to work doing my thing, thinking everything's back to normal, and yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're all right, man.
Good way to start off the podcast, right?
Glad you're
depressing
all right.
story about how
it's
I
an
almost
uplifting
died
story
on my
because you
birthday.
lived. Nah, yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean,
depressing the other way. This is a good story. It turned out okay.
Yeah, like I mean, who would be like? It would suck, right? Nobody would be here to tell the story if I had gone die, right?
Not even gonna go there, Stevie. I can't even think about that possibility. No way.
Yeah,
it's
but
just man.
Yeah, but apparently, like for a while, I knew no one who had COVID, and then like this new wave, like I felt like everybody had COVID.
Yeah, I'm same with me. Yep, we actually knew a couple people. We had some family friends die in the first wave.
Oh man.
Yeah, like so we knew it was serious, but yeah, like as soon as the second whatever
Omicron, right? And
Omicron.
Delta and Omicron. Yeah.
Yeah. Then it's
everybody.
Like everybody got it. Yeah. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad your case wasn't as severe as mine, and it's art. Yeah, I mean, just I'm laughing about the what happened to me, but I mean, just because like what else am I to do, right? I mean, though it was serious, right? Like I can't be super depressed about it. It already happened. I'm here, so I'm happy. But definitely, COVID is super serious, and a lot of people weren't taking it seriously in the beginning. I was just kind of like, yeah, young people. I'm young. I guess I'm not as young as I thought I was. almost almost speaking of my birthday, almost 30. I won't say how exactly how old I am, but it's getting up there.
You're almost 30? Dude, that makes me almost 40, I guess. Gosh, this is bad. It's going the wrong direction.
But so anyway, you want to introduce the topic now that
Sure.
or do you have anything you want to tell the audience, catch up on what happened in your life since the last time we had a podcast?
Well, no, I mean, I think I'm good. Like, definitely nothing rises to the level like of almost dying of COVID.
Don't try to compete with me, man. It's not
Can't be done. You got it covered. I mean, I guess just better safe than sorry with all that stuff. Because, like you said, like, you know, I yeah, whatever. Just hey, I hope everybody's playing it safe out there, and
For sure.
You just never know. So
Exactly.
yeah, but the topic today, I think we were going to talk about what it's like to work at an agency versus what it's like working at, let's say, an e-commerce
Like
retailer
merchant.
or merchant. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
So you want to kick us off, or
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, so I've worked at agencies and I've worked at e-commerce retailers. I mean, I would say, from my experience, uh, getting to kind of tweak and do the deep dive into different kinds of features and really kind of owning it and doing like really making sure you never put stuff in that you're gonna have to clean up later. All that kind of lives in the realm of like, I work for a company that sells this type of thing or the retailer. Whereas like my experience working at agencies, it's been much more like Scrum. So you'll have to like estimate all your tasks so they can sell the project or whatever. And then uh execute those things a lot of times like it's faster than you feel like you can go. Like just because you're just like, even though I estimated it, it's like, oh, you're just always under the gun of like, I just have to go faster or somehow do this cheaper, which is fine. I like I said, I love doing both versions. So there is a difference, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. So that kind of ties into what I was gonna say. Um, like I'm tackling it from the perspective of skills that are more valuable at an agency versus a merchant, working for a merchant, and estimates, providing accurate estimates, I think is one of those, and you just touched on that. Just because, especially if an agency is providing a fixed budget estimate, right? Like you really can't go over, I don't know, however much you've sold the client for, right? So those estimates becomes way more important versus at a merchant. I think estimates are just kind of more of like, we want to know when this thing's going to go live, not like, oh my gosh, we're going to start losing money if it goes over 8 hours, right? So
Yeah, because you have to, as the merchant, you have to keep paying your developers anyway. They're not going anywhere, right? Like,
yeah.
So
the other thing is, as an agency owner, what I mean, I don't know how other agencies are structured, but usually agencies will have some form of contract labor involved, and then those guys are paid hourly versus if you work at a merchant at right salary, right? So even if somebody works overtime or something, it's not an extra cost, right? So there's that. So definitely, I think estimates are a big thing or
Super
valued
valuable
more.
skill, by the way,
Yeah,
to
super
have,
valuable skill in general, but I
because you can
think
take that to the merchant, right? And be able to give great estimates where you, a lot of times I would say you probably won't learn that skill necessarily out of a merchant.
yeah,
But
yeah. And so the other thing is the problem with estimates though is right, it's kind of like you want to provide a realistic estimate, but from a sales perspective, there's always like that pressure of, oh my God, why is this going to take so long? Right? The client is probably not going to want to do it because they're going to wonder, like, why does it take so long to implement this feature? From a client perspective, things aren't always like so clear, right? The complexity, etc. So estimates are kind of tough, I would say. And
oh,
yeah,
they're brutally tough. Yeah, especially in that situation where, let's say you're trying to help the salesperson sell,
yeah,
you want to give a great estimate like that can help them sell their thing, but at the same time, you know, you or someone else on your team or whatever is going to have to do that work, and you know how long it really will take. You know,
exactly.
um, man, I've been in situations where, yeah, like they will turn around and look at the estimates and be like, "This is insane. This is way too much. Are you kidding?" Like, and
Yeah,
they try to make you feel like, "What are you talking about?" And you kind of just have to either stand your ground or everybody will pay later, because it really will take.
yeah. So the thing is, what I've learned is just um, things when people estimate, they tend to estimate based off of the best case scenario, and in
Oh yeah.
reality, things are bound to go wrong, right? Things are bound to go wrong, whatever it is, whether it's like a dependency that that has nothing to do with your code, just doesn't work the way you expect it to work. Um, I don't know, like you didn't think about all the scenarios, right? Bugs that you didn't really think about, like while you were doing the estimates, those jump out at you, right? When you start implementing things. I mean, when it's a simple pivot, or like when there's a simple workaround, like it's not so bad. But then sometimes, right, you realize, oh crap, this is going to take like a day or two more, right? A day or two more, you're looking at 16 hours more, depending on what the rate is, etc. Right? It could be a big deal or not a big deal, but definitely, I think, right, the consensus here is estimates are super more like they're more important at an agency than they are at a merchant. Any,
Yeah.
yeah, you
No,
wanted
I was
to.
gonna say, like, you
Mhm,
could, I could run into a merchant that is just like on it with like Scrum and tickets and like estimating. I
mhm.
haven't, it's possible that it exists. Um,
Yeah, and
you
these
know,
aren't like rules, right? They're just like general, I would say general observations. It'll vary from agents from merchant to merchant or agency to agency, right? Um, sometimes um, like if an agency is like super sales focused, blah blah blah, right? They'll try to do everything to win to get the project, and then just worry about how to implement it later, right? So then the estimates are super important. The other thing I would say is like multitasking as a developer is super important, but at an agency it's like way more valuable, right? Because I think at a merchant, just like my personal experience, right? Even though you might have to do a lot of context switching, like for example, you could be working on a feature, but then there's a fire on production, right? You have to switch to that, or you might be working on multiple features simultaneously, so you have to coordinate between departments. But at an agency, you're not you're working on you may be working on multiple projects that don't have anything to do with the other, right? So so then you know, I think in that case, your ability to context switch is, you know, needs to be better at an agency, just because, yeah, again, you have completely different clients with completely different needs. Hopefully, and this is what you know I try to do, try to keep one developer focused on one project at a time, right? But sometimes you have to move resources around and stuff like that, and have someone work on one or two, maybe three projects if there's a fire at a time, right? Versus at a merchant, it's always going to be you and the sales team, you and the marketing team, and then they kind of can talk to each other, and you guys can say, well, this thing happened, and this is impacting conversion, so let's focus on this thing. Versus, you know, clients don't know about other clients and they don't care about other clients, so you need to find a way to prioritize everything. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, I think another part of that that is really a valuable thing you can get kind of doing agency work is touching a lot of different kinds of technologies.
Exactly.
Um, Not necessarily that you won't touch a lot at a merchant. It's just um, from my experience, just working at the merchants I've worked at, they have a pretty particular stack, which makes sense. And they kind of stick to that. And once they have you in their flow doing like what they want you doing, they're not going to usually like switch you off and like, okay, now you're going to play with WordPress for a week or two.
Yeah.
Like, but at an agency, you absolutely could be doing Shopify, BigCommerce, Magento, just
Exactly.
mixing and matching and just doing whatever needs to be done. And that I think is really valuable. Not um
like it's painful,
yeah, yeah,
but it makes you more like well-rounded, I would say, right? Maybe
and
solve problems.
confident. Like
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you're kind of just more like, well, it doesn't really matter. This like to me at this point, I'm just like, I mean, in the world of open source, like if it's PHP, a MySQL database, and some JavaScript, like you know what I mean? Like it's not a WordPress, Drupal, like whatever these things are, the different ones. Like if it's ASP.NET, yeah, maybe I'm not gonna hop in.
Exactly.
You
Trying
know,
to cowboy this thing.
yeah. But like
So
once you kind of get yeah, like comfortable in that world, like I said, even like Shopify's not like a typical stack, but it kind of
yeah.
uses the normal technology too. So you can play in that world. And as someone with the skills of a Magento person, you can pretty easily, like if you have to, because that's the situation you end up in. You're just like, we need you to try to solve this, right?
Yeah.
So you do, and then you're like, hey, actually, I can work on WordPress or I can work on whatever it is.
Exactly. So, like you pointed out, the rate of output has to increase, right? And you just need to become more versatile in order to thrive in that environment. Just because there are bound to be times where you need to be moved to a different project, move to a different stack that you're not completely familiar with in order to meet a deadline. And that's the other thing I wanted to bring up. I think obviously deadlines are important everywhere, right? But deadlines at a merchant are internal deadlines versus deadlines at an agency. Those are deadlines to meet out, right? A client's needs, right? So the client, if you don't meet that deadline, there tend to be more severe consequences than working at an agency.
Yeah, just
Any
because it
any
like it
Yeah.
starts with the contract and like everything. Like it, you know, I mean, I could definitely see, and I haven't seen this, but I could see a company with like a dev team that just can't hit deadlines and they get super frustrated and fire them and like rehire. I haven't seen that. I could see that happening, you know, but at an agency, like every single time you are under contract, like you have papers with words on them that say like we're gonna do this by that time, right? Like
Yeah.
there's not um
Not as
kind of
much.
any wiggle room in it. It's
Yeah.
just, can you do it by the time you said you, or the amount of time, let's say, not necessarily a
Yeah.
date, but
By the time and meeting and in under or at the estimated hours, right? Because then if you could do it at the time, but then you did like 100 hours, but you estimated 60 hours, right? Then there's a problem there. So then there's more constraints in terms of just being able to deliver your work when it comes to deadlines and stuff. There's more severe consequences, more pressure, right? And then the other thing I would say is, like, coming back to multitasking, is if you are at any point on if you are on multiple projects at any point, you're juggling multiple deadlines, right? Because you may have client number one and client number two that have similar deadlines, and you need to figure out how to, deliver for both of them, with, regardless of what fire comes up or delays happen, right? So there's definitely, yeah, hitting deadlines is super important at an agency. The other thing I would say is communication skills and customer service skills. I'm going to wrap these two up together, because, I mean, at a merchant, you need good communication, but again, you're just in good customer service, but you're really speaking to people that you talk to almost every day, right? Um, versus, right, whether it's somebody in sales or your product owner or your project manager, right? These are people you're going to be working with, for the next how many years you work at the company, right? There's turnover, but for the most part, the people you speak to on a daily basis stays pretty like pretty much the same. When it comes to agency work, right? If an agency is actively selling and bringing in new clients, or, right, you're going to always be speaking to new people with different, work styles, different attitudes, etc., right? And your communication skills and customer service skills, right, are the level of customer service you provide in that context is different from what you would do in a merchant setting, because those are your buddies, you work with them. Maybe things can be a little bit more informal. You get on a client call, you have to be, until that relationship develops. Maybe you guys have been working on a project for 6 months to, I don't know, a year. Then things can become a little bit less formal, but you definitely have to put up that, super friendly, open, like, I mean, not that you wouldn't do that with people you work with, but I'm saying you have to put in a little bit more effort, right? To make sure that communication and customer service is there. The other thing is they're working on things, and they're running a business that you don't know the ins and outs of, right? And then they communicate in a style that's not familiar to you. So you might be saying one thing and you think they understand that thing, and then you deliver it, and come to find out that's not what they wanted. It doesn't match their business needs, etc. Versus if you work at a merchant, I don't know, sales could be down the hall, marketing could be down the hall. You have your manager doing this conversation. Like, you're kind of, maybe there's company-wide meetings, so you're kind of immersed in the culture of the company, so you understand where requests come from, how it ties to the company's objective and long-term goals, etc. Versus at a merchant, you just have, I'm sorry, at an agency, you just have, I don't know, like a task list, and you don't have all that context. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. Except the one thing
Mhm.
is, I think you're describing a smaller agency,
What you?
because
Uh-huh.
I worked at places like that. Like, and yes, you're totally right. Like, dude, I've gone on tours of big facilities, and this is our lead developer, and like you're in the mix with everybody, and you kind of like you're playing this customer facing role of like very
Yeah.
professional, and you have
Yeah.
to have that, and just exactly like you described. But I've also worked at agencies that the developers, it doesn't matter if you're the head of development, you do not talk to clients. You're not involved in that at all. Like, it's
Yeah.
the whole project management team That's where like the social skills are or whatever. And they are like this wall in between like
True.
development. And so,
Well,
I mean, go ahead.
No. You make a good point. But in that scenario where you have the wall, right, of salespeople and project managers, right, that's where the communication becomes even more important because right, a requirement or an issue comes down, the project manager explains it to you one way, but that's not what the client said, right? You fix the issue, a week later they're like, wait a minute, this isn't what we wanted, but you're like, wait, that's what the project manager told me, right? Versus in a merchant setting, right? First of all, like communication is more real time, right? Sometimes
It can be.
yeah, sometimes more likely to be, right?
Yeah.
Versus in an agency setting, you have a project manager in the middle. Sometimes the project manager communicates with the client mostly via email, and then they'll have like a weekly call or something like that. Versus at a merchant, everybody's should be under the same roof, or maybe you guys, if everybody's remote, you have regular calls where people sync, etc., right? So then it's less likely for you to misinterpret something or for somebody to communicate the wrong thing because it had to go through so many levels of people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, at the same time, like if you are insulated from kind of the client, then it is more like the merchant setting where you're just dealing with the same people all the time. And you know, like a lot of times I would see like, oh man, this client, they're real whatever, but it was like the PM's job to kind of like be the in-between
insulate,
firewall. Right? Yeah. So like to me or to the people on my team or whatever, you wouldn't necessarily know the difference between an insane client and a great client because we just had like requirements and we had like we were just going to deliver what was planned. So
yeah, and I guess like so let me clarify, right? Because I'm for a while I've kind of just been kind of like both, right? Kind of PM slash well, all three, kind of PM, salesperson, and developer in
you're
some
an
cases,
entrepreneur,
right?
You get to do it all. Yes.
Right? So that means that I gotta do the customer service, gotta do the communication, the sales, all of that, right? And then do the development. The thing is, yeah, so it's a bit different for me. So I mean, I would put myself, as you say, in the entrepreneur slash freelancer category, more trying to be more entrepreneur category, right? Because we're a small agency. But yeah.
Which is awesome. I mean, for me, that's my goal eventually to be an entrepreneur. I'm not quite there yet, but I think that most people, I would imagine, have that goal somewhere in their head. Maybe some people don't. They're just like, I just want to work at somewhere forever, which it's possible. I haven't met too many people like deep in their heart. They don't want to just get out there and run their own thing. You know what I mean? Like, I think everybody kind of has that. And I really respect that about you, dude. You went out and you're doing that. That's really cool. I think that's where we should all be heading if we're true to ourselves.
Then who's gonna work?
The new crop, the newbies will come in.
The next generation.
Okay. Yeah, they'll eventually start their own thing. And
yeah,
maybe not. I don't know. I'm not there yet. I haven't made the leap. I would like to.
I mean, but the interesting thing is, right? Like, I mean, like just imagine like 50 years from now and like where we have like AI and everything's like super automated. I think we might have a civilization of self-employed people or entrepreneurs, right? Because I mean, if you look at it, more people are starting podcasts. Example, us, right? They're social media influencers, they're YouTubers, etc. I mean, if you look just I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, a lot of this stuff was impossible. And then And if you just look at like the gig economy, right, like what Uber is allowing people to do, I mean, I don't want to get into the politics of people who like and don't like Uber. I'm just pointing out, guys, that
Careful.
let's say you wanted to quit your job today, and let's say Uber wasn't even your final destination. For some people it is, and for some people it's not, right? But you could quit your job today and go and do DoorDash. I mean, it's a bit difficult given the gas prices,
Yeah.
but before the gas prices, you technically could quit your job and then the next day drive for Uber or for Lyft or do DoorDash or TaskRabbit or something like that, and basically all you need is a clean driving record, a clean background check, right? Bare minimum. And then, just don't screw it up by getting bad ratings. That's all you
Yeah.
need. But I'm saying,
Yeah.
at what point in time has it ever, like, there's never been a point in time where you could just like make money as long as you had a car or some type of transportation, like almost within a day or two. So just imagine, like, I don't know, 20 years from now. I mean, I saw this thing where, again, some people hate Tesla, right? But
I knew this was
or
all coming back
driverless
to
cars,
Elon
right?
Musk.
Right?
It
No,
was
no, no,
all
driverless cars.
just
But
orbiting around Elon.
no,
This whole conversation.
no, driverless cars, right? Which
Right.
is not specific to Tesla, but they're one of the leading companies, right? The whole, like, there was this idea that people could buy a driverless car and then their car could give people rides and then like bring income for them. Anyway, so just
I
kind
like
of,
that idea. And it would be
yeah,
like I will write a piece of code that writes other code and it will
exactly.
work. Yeah.
Yeah,
I really like that.
with AI, you could potentially, build something that just learns and does stuff for you, and you don't really have to work, and then everybody's technically an entrepreneur. It's just a futurist science, the sci-fi enthusiast in me, but
No, I love
that's
it.
how I imagine the
I love it.
future.
I think we should end on that very happy note. The idea for the future.
Yeah, so that sounds good to me.
Okay.
Anything else you want to say to the people before we
Oh man, just the same as you. I love and appreciate you. I miss you all. I missed you the
exactly.
most, Steve B. I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah. Same here. Happy to be doing the podcast again. And yeah, hopefully we can stay consistent this time. And
we got some really cool stuff coming. Let me tease
exactly
a little bit. Okay. There's gonna be us screen sharing, writing code. We're gonna talk to each other like we're doing now. A lot of good stuff. There might even be some music. I have a song. I have an unreleased Magento song.
Didn't we have a song already?
No, I don't know. No, I wrote a. Yeah, no, this is different.
Okay. So I'm looking forward to the world premiere of Steve's song.
I'll probably release it on my own channel because I know you're not interested in my rap career. Okay, I know you want to keep it separate. So.
No, man. If you want to use our very influential platform to release your song, I'm with you. No problem.
Okay. All right. You might want to wait till you hear it.
But well, regardless what it is,
yeah,
I'm sure it's great, right?
Don't worry about all that. Yeah. It's wonderful.
But wishing you guys the best. See you guys next time.